Alex Jones defended Roseanne after her Twitter meltdown in an interesting way. Let's watch.
Chimpanzees, apes, orangutans. And you can see the comparisons. They teach that in sociology, psychology, anthropology. It's well known. So if you compare some black lady to looking simian, well, there's a reason. Because we are primates. That's why there's so many comparisons to humans and monkeys and to apes. Because some people look more like it than others. There are some white people that look more like apes than other white people. There are some black people that look more ape-like than other black people. I look ape-like. With my shirt off, in my birthday suit, I look like a gorilla. I mean, I don't have to work out. I got big chest, big arms, big legs. I'm bow-legged. My feet are flat. My dad is somewhat simian looking too. It's just the way it is. And I'm proud of it. But, I mean, this whole thing is just absolutely ridiculous. I'm hairy like an ape too. And by the way, I'm proud of it. Women don't seem to mind. They seem to like it. So, I would say that I look more simian than most black people. But this mental illness of political correctness to say that we don't all, at one way or another, look simian is just a complete joke. I mean, it's like species of horses. Does a mule look a lot like a horse, even though it's not a horse? Does a donkey look a lot like a horse? It's a different species, but it's in the same family.
I don't understand why you have to be disingenuous in the service of making your point. Because listen, yeah, of course, there were countless examples of people comparing George W. Bush to looking like a monkey or an ape. Of course, there's examples of people comparing Donald Trump to that. Bill Maher did that famously in a joke that, by the way, Trump sued him over that. Eventually, of course, he dropped the lawsuit, but he sued Bill Maher over a joke which compared Trump to looking like, an orangutan or something like that. So, yeah, we all get that, dude. But why are you being so dense to the context of it? Which is, historically, when you compare, an African-American to an ape, that's part of a massive dehumanization effort. That's the same as like, okay, so Dave Chappelle wore whiteface to pretend to be a news anchor. Are we supposed to all be equally outraged by that as we are by somebody wearing blackface? Because there's a history connected to the blackface. It was used in minstrel shows to dehumanize black people, make them look stupid, and justify a system of open oppression against them. By the same token, comparing a black woman to an ape, yeah, that's going to land a little harsher than it would if you're comparing some white dude to an ape. So I don't know why, he has to act, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Now, having said all that, here's the part where I'm going to, I will literally be one of 4 people in the world to take this position now, but I'm going to take it anyway because I think it's the right thing to do. Now, when it comes to the Roseanne situation, listen. Roseanne, her whole point on the show is to be a Trump supporter. That's it. And in real life, she is a Trump supporter, but her character also is a Trump supporter. So I find it really strange that when in real life she talks like a hardcore Trump supporter, that it leads to her being fired. I don't get it. That she's a lunatic. Everybody knew she was a lunatic going into this situation. So the fact that now everybody's clutching their pearls and they're like, it turns out Roseanne is a lunatic, and it turns out she's somewhat openly racist. I don't get why everybody's shocked by that, and I don't get why this is the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, there was a tweet I saw the other day. It was from Roseanne. I'm not sure if it was back in 2013 or 2015 or something like that. But basically what happened was after UC Davis decided to support BDS, decided that they were in favor of divesting from Israel, she basically said every Jew should get off the campus at UC Davis and then we should nuke it. So in other words, just casually calling for the slaughter, the genocide of people who are mildly critical of Israel. That's fucking wild, man. That's wild. Now, she's joking. Is that really a joke? Joking about fucking a nuclear holocaust at a school? And by the way, she massively defends Israel in every circumstance I've ever seen. So I'm not sure it's much of a joke when, in the context of, she's always bent over backwards to defend them. Even when Netanyahu does a fucking slaughterfest in Gaza and kills 80% civilians. She's been screaming about chemtrails nonstop for the past fucking 4 or 5 years. Okay? And the list goes on and on. She thinks Donald Trump broke up a fucking pedophile ring. So every insane, lunatic, fringe conspiracy theory that's out there, Roseanne believes, Roseanne has advocated for. So the idea that everybody's like, oh, it turns out she says some crazy things from time to time, and they use that to fire her, I don't get it. I don't get it. And yes, I do think that if I was the head of ABC, I don't think I would have fired her. If we want to be able to take instances of people on the left losing their jobs over things they said that are politically incorrect, and we want to defend those people, I think as a matter of principle, we should also defend it on the right. What I don't understand from Alex Jones is, why can't you just make the argument I made? I mean, you can say, okay, this is bigoted. Okay, she's a lunatic. Okay, she's out there. But at the same time, she shouldn't be fired. You can make that argument, but he doesn't make that argument. Instead, he tries to pretend like, oh my goodness, it's the same thing when people compare me, or people compare Trump, or people compare Bush to looking like an ape. That's not the same thing, man, and you're being dense on purpose to try to make that argument. In the same way that somebody could argue, oh my God, Dave Chappelle wearing whiteface is equally, outrageous and offensive as somebody wearing blackface. It's just not the same thing because of the history that's tied to it. I still can't get over Roseanne's excuses. I just can't. I was Ambien tweeting. Ambien, literally, the company that makes Ambien fired back at her and was like, a side effect of Ambien isn't racism. That was one of her excuses, and the other excuse was, I didn't know she was black. I mean, maybe if you take a quick glance at Valarie Jarett, you don't know, but I don't know. I think it's pretty clear to see. So it strikes me as bullshit to use the Ambien excuse, and it strikes me as bullshit to say I didn't know she was black. And by the way, she has since gone on Twitter and retweeted a bunch of bullshit to defend herself. As she's saying, oh, I'm not defending myself. And she also said, please, nobody defend me on this. I was wrong on this. So she apologized to Valarie Jarett, but at the same time, she's retweeting shit about, photoshopped images, for example, of Valarie Jarett talking about how I want this country to be more Islamic. It's total bullshit. It's a Photoshop job. She didn't say that. It's nonsense. She's not even Muslim. And then, there's retweets of Whoopi Goldberg where they put a fake shirt on of her where Trump is shooting his brains out, a cartoon version of Trump shooting his brains out. And that wasn't actually the shirt she was wearing. She was wearing a totally different shirt. So it's in the process of the fallout of this, she's making an even bigger ass of herself, man. She's making a bigger ass of herself. Listen, Roseanne, just sit back, shut the fuck up for a while. You apologized. You should have stopped right at your apology. And then, eventually, they may have done something like with Last Man Standing, or is that the name of it? The Tim Allen Show, where it was canceled and he said, oh, it's because I'm conservative they canceled it. And then somebody just brought him back recently. I think Fox or something like that brought him back. So you don't think Fox would have picked up Roseanne when Roseanne had record ratings? It was through the fucking roof. They had 8 million people watch or something. It was an increase of 62% or something from the last people who watched it. So they were fucking dominating in the ratings. If you just sit back and shut up, Roseanne, Fox would have probably picked you up in due time. And then also there's the argument of, hey man, what about all the other people on the show? You're going to really these are all people who are actors who've been out of work for a while, and, all of them should suffer because Roseanne is a lunatic when we all knew she was a lunatic going into it? So I think somebody would have picked them up if if Roseanne just didn't dig a deeper hole for herself, but she keeps digging a deeper hole.